We're here to bring a new type of news show.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day.
We are News Generation.
Bringing news just for you. It's Friday, October 10th here in Seoul. I'm Isujin, and this is News Generation. Joining us today is Chunyeon.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Also, Feuds with us.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming in. And both are here to speak on behalf of people in their 20s and 30s. So we've already reached the end of the work week, and this one feels extra special. After all, we only had to come in for one day this week. So after such a long Chuseok holiday, it's been a while since we've all been in the office, and I think we've all still working on getting back into work mode. It's kind of a week that makes you appreciate a short work even more, giving us a little extra time to slowly ease into getting back into our usual routine. So I have to ask though, Jihyun, how did you spend your time off? What did you get up to during the break?
Well, I had some great quality time with my family. It felt like good connection, good relationship with my relatives and with everybody. You know, because the holiday was quite long this time, we had more than 7 days. I even managed a short family trip to Sokcho in the middle of the week, in the middle of the Chuseok. So, you know, Chuseok, after all, the Thanksgiving holiday, is Korea's autumn harvest festival that we do here. Traditionally, a time to honor ancestors and celebrate abundance. Normally, it lasts at least 3 days or 4 days sometimes, but this year, public holidays combined to give us a full week off. So it was a rare chance to slow down a little bit, share meals with other people and their stories, of course. So coming back now, I feel refreshed, grateful, and ready to dive back into work with renewed energy with you guys.
So it did sound like you had a lot of good family time in Sokcho as well. So how was your break?
This break seemed very long and short at the same time, but thank God today is Friday. Looking forward to the weekend again. But it was an awesome Chuseok holiday for me. It was a very highly anticipated holiday because it was so long. So I'm sure a lot of people took this opportunity to travel abroad. But for myself, I took the time to really take a good rest from work and just to relax at home and pretty much not do much. But during Chuseok, I did meet my family and relatives, nephews and nieces. It's always a great time to gather all together in just one place because nowadays we don't really get to see each other as often as we did like long time ago in our past generations. But it was a great opportunity to, you know, catch up and, you know, just have great traditional Korean food and just to have a great conversation. And just before it became too long when we started having conflicts, but we'll talk about conflicts very soon.
So we'll get into that. So like you said, holidays like these give us a chance to slow down, get together, really catch up. So I'm personally lucky to live close to my grandparents, but even then I don't actually get to see them very often. So this holiday did feel extra special. But of course, even though we love our families, gatherings aren't always picture perfect. So let's take a look at the screen to find out more. Holidays are a great chance to reconnect with family and friends, but we all know that family gatherings can sometimes bring out moments that we'd rather forget, comments that can spark misunderstandings or tension. And as family structures change with more people choosing not to marry or live independently, the kinds of conflicts that come up during these gatherings are evolving as well. Today on News Generation, we'll explore the family conflicts that arise during the holidays, how the types of conflicts that occur have changed over time, and most importantly, how we can navigate and overcome them. As we just saw in the video, family conflicts tend to come up more often during the holidays. From small misunderstandings to bigger clashes, these gatherings can bring a mix of joy and tension. So Cheon, what are some examples of the kinds of conflicts we usually see during these holiday get-togethers?
Yes, well, recently one of the most talked about tensions during the Chuseok holiday online, it centers on how unmarried or child-free relatives are expected to give pocket money to their nieces and nephews during the holidays. Well, in the past, most people had children too. So it was quite fair enough. It felt fair, but now many feel pressured, burdened to give even when they don't have kids themselves. And families often take it for granted. And I have read many posts about people feeling frustrated or financially stressed, even considering skipping family gatherings altogether. So one of my friends, she's single and feels precious to bring presents or cash to everyday events. She has so many nieces and nephews, and they have so many birthday parties and Children's Day and Christmas parties. So she felt like it's too much for from me. They ask so much to her. And I also remember feeling the same way before I had children, when my niece wanted something quite expensive and big. The gift felt like a real burden to me as well. And every year I have struggled over what to get. What kind of present does she want? And on Children's Day or Christmas as well. So now, though, it feels a little bit formal between us, but we share a single gift list for my niece and my child as well, which helps my grandparents and me know exactly what she would like for that particular day. Everybody's happy for that. So boundaries aren't rude, they are actually practical. Indeed.
So do you look over the list? So when your kid suggests, like, asks for something, do you step in and kind of interfere?
Yes, of course. Depending on the price he or she suggests, I judge them. I ask them, why don't you decide another one a little bit cheap? Yes.
Just out of curiosity, what's like a good price limit?
Price, right? I think it depends on the day. If it's a birthday, I pay more. But when it comes to, Christmas, you get more presents from many people. I have a practical reason for that.
I feel like sharing these lists it's so practical and
yes,
definitely
it is indeed.
will decrease conflicts that could possibly happen. And all of this really shows how family dynamics are shifting. Like in the past, when everyone had children, things felt more balanced. But now with more people choosing not to marry or have kids, the expectations can feel a bit one-sided. And of course, that's not the only source of tension. So what are some of the other kinds of disputes that tend to come up during the holidays, Kyun?
So conflicts among siblings are also quite common these days, especially over issues such as supporting their parents and dividing property. Now, this is somewhat more relatable to our parents' generation as their parents leave behind inheritance when their time is almost up. So, and this comes also with paying high inheritance tax, which can also become a big burden. Even though they're actually receiving the asset, they have to pay back so much inheritance tax here in Korea. In fact, during last year's Chuseok, there was an incident where a man in his 70s, not a 7-year-old, a man in his 70s attacked his younger brother who was in his 60s during a dispute over parental care, who is more responsible to take care of their parents. Now, conflicts also arise between parents and children, and of course between spouses and even among relatives, because I guess they're together for such a long time, and like when it starts off being very happy and all jolly, but then things can become a little personal when you're actually together for such a long time, and that's when conflicts arise, and then it's disaster from that moment on. So with my family, we always have this kind of 3-hour rule. After 3 hours, we would start arguing, and I would say, I think 3 hours is up. I think it's time for me to leave. And everyone just would laugh. But then we all know we should keep our boundaries, but then it's not easy to do that when you're with someone for such a long time, especially during Chuseok holiday.
I think because you're so comfortable with your family.
Exactly.
Now, I think that story you shared also shows how serious family disputes can get. And what really stands out to me is that these conflicts often stem from issues that do cut deep, things like caring for aging parents or dividing up property. And because those matters are so closely tied to responsibility and fairness within the family, it's no surprise that they can feel so personal and that arguments can become really heated. So this brings us to the bigger question. So Jiyeon, what are the underlying reasons that make these family tensions surface, especially at times when we're supposed to be celebrating together?
That is right. It's underlying reasons. Family conflicts during holiday often arise simply because everyone gathers. They meet up each other in one place at the same time. So during holiday, during Chuseok especially, families prepare food, perform ancestral rites, and visit graves, sharing intense time all together. This closeness can easily spark tensions or bring out underlying disagreements. Numbers show that divorce cases in Korea go up after major holidays, especially in South Korea. On top of that, long journeys, traffic jams, and the pressure of gift giving or spending money all add up together, all add another layer of stress. Differences between generations about values, parenting, or money can also cause arguments that stay quiet most of the year but come out at the holiday table. So in short, Chuseok is supposed to be about harmony, as you mentioned, but sometimes it's more like a pressure cooker than a harvest feast.
Well said. The holidays, especially in countries like Korea, where culture is deeply rooted and confusion isn't involved, so many structured activities like performing rituals, sharing meals, visiting ancestors, and engaging in family conversations. So while all of this sounds pleasant, it also creates plenty of opportunities for complaints or tensions to surface. So which brings up another point. The types of family members involved in a dispute are evolving too. So how did things look in the past compared to now, Jian?
Well, in the past, holiday conflicts were mostly between in-laws or daughter-in-laws, mother-in-laws, or between husbands and wives. But traditional gender roles and the heavy workload that you have on holiday, for women especially, created plenty of hidden frustration and stress for them. Big family gatherings also meant long hours in the kitchen, strict rituals, and little rest for them, a recipe for tension. However, these days today, with more equal gender roles, catering options, quite good, and smaller households, those classic disputes have eased for changed shape. So families now see in-laws less often and have less formal traditions, which has further reduced the old style frictions. At our in-law meetups, or when we have some gatherings, family gatherings, my mother-in-law even brings some burgers and triangle kimbap for Chuseok holiday. And these days, the biggest fight at Chuseok might just be, who's going to eat the last slice of songpyeon.
That's really woke and very sensible of her to do that.
I know.
So what do the other family members usually bring then?
In fact, nothing. I feel sorry.
She's the one who prepares the food.
Yeah, sometimes we bring cash,
Yeah.
the thing that she loves. So the
That's
cash
the
will
best.
be good
Very,
for her.
so everyone's very practical. That's really smart.
Yes,
But yeah, that kind of reminds me. I have a friend that works at a hospital, and he was saying how there's so many people, women especially, that come to the hospital even before the Chuseok holidays.
Why?
Because they get stressed about the
my
upcoming holiday
goodness.
season.
Pre-holiday
Right.
syndrome.
So hopefully there are more mother-in-laws like your mother-in-law.
Oh yeah, I hope so.
So it seems like things are changing. So conflicts between couples have decreased and tensions with in-laws aren't as common, probably because relationships aren't as close or visits so frequent as they used to be. So how's the way we interact with extended relative change, and what kind of tensions used to come up there, Kim?
So in the past, a lot of relatives, even your second cousins, third cousins, will all gather. It's called the 큰집, big house, usually the house of the first son or the first parents. So when everyone gathered, they will become very curious of each other, especially your uncles and aunties would ask you, so like, are you thinking of marriage? Have you got a job? If you're looking for a job, they'll be like, what kind of job are you looking for? Don't you need to lose some weight if you gain weight? And although it may seem like they're actually showing care and affection, younger generations feel very precious and even intrusive when relatives ask these kind of personal questions. And in the past, they would just say, oh, no, I'm doing well, but then they would actually get stressed deep inside. Nowadays, things have changed. They actually express that they feel very offended and they don't want to actually answer all those kind of personal questions. And nowadays, thanks to the shift toward like nuclear families, meaning that people only have like one children, I think the conflicts have really, really reduced because there are less kids to compare. Talking about comparison, I think a lot of relatives used to compare a lot with their children to other children, their nieces and nephews. And I think that's where all the problem arises from. When you start comparing people, it's not really helpful for the younger people because they don't like to be compared. And even if they did the same thing to their uncles and aunties, they would feel very offended as well. So I think reducing comparison can really alleviate a lot of things. But then in the past, I think it's embedded in the Korean culture. They like to compare people and say, he went to this company, what are you doing? You should be studying more,
How do they know all these people?
They're very gossipy. They like to find out a lot of things about their neighbors as well. So, But nowadays things have really changed in a better way.
I think that's why people are admitting themselves to hospital before the Chuseok holiday.
Maybe.
So what do you think is driving these kinds of changes?
A lot of things. Family structures have changed, become more diverse compared to the past. In Korea, unlike in the 1990s, where typical family was perceived as like a four-person household, today, like I mentioned just before, single-person households take up the largest share. And with the rise of unmarried individuals, remarriages, and cohabiting families, new types of conflicts have actually emerged, such as between married and unmarried siblings, fairness issues like you talked about between biological children or even step-parents in remarried families, and the growing challenge of grandparents having to care for their grandchildren as dual income households increase, and things like that.
So far we've looked at the kinds of conflicts that tend to arise during the holidays, what usually drives these tensions, and how the nature of these disputes has changed over time, from sibling rivalries to in-law tensions to challenges brought on by evolving family structures. It's clear that holiday gatherings bring a mix of joy and sometimes a bit of stress for everyone involved. To get a better sense of what the public thinks about this, we asked viewers on the Arirang News YouTube channel a simple question: which family relationships do you think experience the most conflicts during the holidays? So let's see what they had to say on this. So when it comes to family conflicts, different relationships are affected in varying degrees apparently. So about 41% involve parents, followed by spouses at 29%, siblings at 19%, and other family members making up the remaining 11%. So interestingly, the poll shows parents and spouses at the top of the list, even though we just discussed that conflicts between couples and with parents have generally decreased compared to the past. So this might suggest that while traditional conflicts have lessened, modern pressures like caring for aging parents, coordinating schedules, or financial expectations still put parents and spouses in the spotlight during the holiday gatherings. And to also get a global perspective on this, we're going to talk to a young person from India who will give us insight into how families there handle holiday gatherings and whether similar conflicts arise. So that conversation will take right after the break, so don't go anywhere.
NewsGen wants to hear from you. Go to YouTube and search out Channel Arirang News. Click Posts and cast your vote in the poll. Make a new type of news with us.
We're joined today by Nupur, who's studying in Korea but is originally from India. So hi Nupur, thank you so much for connecting with us today.
Hello, thank you so much for having me on this platform.
So do families in India usually get together for the holidays? If so, how large are these gatherings?
So in India, family or the close friends or the neighbors, they are like deeply connected. So we don't like just gather for the special occasion or just on the holidays. We can see each other on the normal days, birthdays, or just to have a meal together and a conversation on a normal evening. And holidays for us are like simply an extension of the closeness, I would say. So if talking about the Chuseok in Korea, since it's coming soon, so Chuseok in Korea is more like a Korea's harvest festival or more like a Thanksgiving. So we have similar in India, the harvest festival. It is called like a Pongal or Makar Sankranti, and it differs from like the different states of India. They have a different names of this harvest festival. But when I talk in terms of the spirit of this festival, I think most of the people can connect with Diwali, Holi, Eid, and Christmas, where we have like a good amount of holidays. And it's not only these festivals, but we have like a lot of holidays and a lot of festivals in India. So family members, neighbors, childhood friends, we all like came together to make the celebrations happen. We eat together, and it's not like just like a private family event. It's more like a community gathering, I would say. So it's more like we don't have to like a plan. We don't have to schedule. That is what special, I would say, is a speciality in India, that we don't have to like put schedule in our calendars to meet the families or to have a gathering. Yes.
Lovely. Nepal, then what kinds of family conflicts tend to happen most often during the holidays in India?
Yeah. So conflicts are, I think they can happen anywhere, not only in India. I think in Korea also, or anywhere else in any country, because there are like a lot of people from different generation and different personalities. They are coming together. So everyone have their own perspective, I would say. So, but I think most of the ones which I think I can connect from experience is like sometimes elders want to have a very specific ritual in their own way, but youngsters wants to have a more freedom, new ways to, explore during a festivity or the holiday. At the same time, I think the most common one which we all can relate to is like some of our relatives, like they start comparing the children's achievement or the marriages, these kind of things, which can, spark the conflict or an argument, I would say. So I think these kind of things are very common, which we can see in India or in Korea. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. In your opinion, what's the best way to minimize conflicts between family members during holiday gatherings?
Yeah. So I think it's very my personal perspective, I would say, and it can differ person to person, like how to avoid the conflicts. But how I would suggest on my experience, from my experience, it's more like to avoid the conflicts is like being very patient, respectful, and we need to be very mindful of our boundaries and others' boundaries as well. So I truly believe that, also at the same time, I truly believe that sharing the meals or cooking together can grow the love and can avoid the conflicts. And we also have a saying in India that if we eat together from the same plate, the love grows. So I think that is a very common thing which I would love to, follow to avoid any kind of conflicts, because after all, festivities and the holidays means like all the family, neighbor or the close friends coming together, spending time together, and making the bond more stronger, and we can have a very good connection. So I think, yeah, that I would love to follow.
I really appreciate that saying that you just shared with us and also everything else you said as well. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me today.
So we just spoke to a young person from India, a country known for its rich family traditions and large multi-generation households. And it was fascinating to hear how these cultural norms influence the way families handle holiday gatherings and conflicts. And her perspective really showed us how cultural context shapes the way young people view family conflicts. And speaking of younger generations, how has the way young people see family conflicts changed over time, Jian?
Well, back in the days, we put loyalty, the bonds, ties between families were the thing, and we put those stuff first. But these days, many in the Gen Z push back against family pressure and obligations that older generations saw as normal. Yes, family is important indeed, so are you.
So what are your thoughts on this?
So I realized this as well. Many of my relatives, they don't actually turn up to these gatherings anymore. And it's like out of sight, out of mind. So people have actually stopped talking about them and saying, like, I guess, bad things for not turning up. So it's become very natural for them to not even be there, not be present.
Right.
So I think it's a big shift, and we just have to come to accept these changes.
I agree. So to wrap things up, Jian, what are some practical tips for handling family conflicts calmly and keeping the peace during the holidays, do you think?
Well, I think the best way is to talk honestly and don't intrude their bubbles, their boundaries. An open and honest conversation is still the best way to ease family tensions, and less pushing, more understanding, even at the dinner table.
Do you have any other advice?
I think just showing a lot of respect to each other, whether you're old or young, and just because you're family or related, it doesn't mean you can say personal things or ask personal questions. So just treat them like every other human being, and just keep each other's personal bubble to themselves.
I think these are all really good sound advice. So Chuseok unfortunately has come and gone, and with it full tables, family conversations, and even sometimes the inevitable disagreements. And with more people choosing not to marry, and with diverse family structures becoming more common, the kinds of disputes that we see today look very different from the past. So still, whether between parents and children, siblings, or extended relatives, the key really lies in empathy, communication, and respect. And if we choose kindness over judgment and communication over science, we can turn conflicts into opportunities to strengthen our family ties for the next holiday season. And that brings us to the end of today's episode of News Generation. We'll be returning next Monday at 10:30 a.m. Korea time with more stories and discussions. A big thanks to Chuhyun
Thank you so much, Sijin.
coming in, also Kyun.
Always a pleasure.
And to our viewers, thank you so much for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we hope you have the best weekend. We are
News Generation.